right? Okay, got it. Go ahead, Adrian.
I think I had a bigger problem with the second shot that he did at close range.
Go ahead.
I think he deserved another one, and you know.
Okay.
I don't know.
When you put it that way, the second shot has got to be illegal. Because at that point now, it's premeditated, there's no heat of passion, there's no threat, because all of them are running away, and indeed he comes up and the guy is struggling just to stand, and he shoots him again. So the second one right there is a problem. What about the first ones?
They're running away, they're no longer.
They're running away, but they're going to come back. I mean, let's be honest, if I'm a kid and indeed somebody pulls a gun on me, I'm going to come back with something to get him the next time. What do you say, Chad? What about the first one?
They were running away, public space, especially the New York City subway. You know, you're 1 inch off, you're going to hit somebody, especially, you know, New York City post 9/11. That's definitely a problem.
This was before 9/11, in fairness, but Chad.
But the thing is that
they applauded because at this point, New York City couldn't control the gangs.
Please don't guilt trip me. But I was going to say, you know, if you're going to say that you can stand up to bullying with this way, doesn't that basically greenlight every school shooting we see?
Well, it would certainly greenlight a lot of other people to carry weapons on subways and buses and in public. And indeed, when you put it in that context, that would seem to make it pretty dangerous. But he defended himself, you can argue, and also the train. Go ahead, Mel, I saw your hand.
No, I think he actually has a wonderful point about the school shootings. But it also is the same behavior that doesn't get addressed. If you're constantly being harassed left and right by people, the fact that they don't have guns doesn't mean you're not dealing with daily physical and mental abuse.
Yeah.
Even if it is just harassment. And so at some point something's going to break. Do I think it's right for him to do it? No, but his actions are justifiable.
Okay, so you're saying it's legal.
I didn't say it's legal. I said
it's justifiable. Okay, one, actually, go ahead. I'll take it.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, kind of to Nushin's point, I mean, if it was in if it was in Florida, then I mean, obviously it would be legal. But but the state of New York doesn't make that legal, so it wouldn't be legal.
Okay, so you're saying this guy should be punished to the full extent of the law.
Absolutely. Okay,
one more, Miguel, and then we'll vote.
Sounds like he tried to take the law into his own hands.
That's where the vigilante part comes in. Mm-hmm. But if the law is failing, don't you have the right to do that, or shouldn't you have the right to do that?
He's being harassed. He needs to go to the authorities. Everyone who was clapping, what the hell were they? Why are they being such pussies? Either go like just
edit that out.
No, it's not edible. Yeah, go ahead. A little easier though.
Like I was saying with the vigilante thing, like we're not technically supposed not supposed to take the law in your own hands. Like go to a cop, go get some.
But they did that.
This
has been going on for years.
All right, hang on, because we're just about out of time. Show of hands on this one. How many of you say? Go ahead, quick. Real quick. Don't film it now.
If someone's going to do it, if someone's going to have that kind
Keep
of
your eye on
action and
him.
do that kind of thing, that's fine. Whether it's legal or illegal, but they should also be willing to deal with the consequences.
Deal with the consequences.
If you decide to take that into your own hands because there's no other recourse to alleviate the situation, then do it, but then suffer the consequences thereof.
This happened right before Christmas. He left to thunderous applause on the subway. Ultimately, he turned himself in about a week later. Show of hands. How many of you say, if I'm Bernie Getz and I got 3 guys, punks, and it doesn't matter what their age is really, it doesn't matter what their race is really, maybe the gender would, but bottom line on this is, they come up to you and they've been bugging you, and you're a natural to be picked on for whatever reason. I mean, think about it. We all have probably been in that circumstance. How many of you would say, you know what, I'm going to carry that gun, and if I pull it out, I'm going to use it, and I should use it because I can protect myself better at this point, clearly, than anybody else can? How many of you say Bernie Getz did the right thing? At least with the first shot. Raise them up. At least with the first shot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 of you say this. How many of you say, first shot, second shot, Bernie Getz took the law in his own hands? This is a problem. Raise them up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 16 to 8. 2/3 of you. Let me tell you what happened on this. City of New York got a hold of this. They loved Bernie Getz. Whoa. Bernie Getz became a folk hero just before Christmas. And to be honest with you, he could have been brought up on all sorts of charges. Ultimately, what they convicted him of was using an unregistered weapon. He did a couple of weeks in jail and ultimately was released. So the premeditation, the shooting when people were running, none of that stuff was basically considered because public opinion was so high. Of those 3 hoodlums, two of them, mind you, got, basically, when you look back at this, they continued to have records and their crimes escalated and escalated and escalated. The one that didn't was the one that he shot and paralyzed that day. The one that he shot and paralyzed that day. So in that regard, maybe Bernie Goetz did the right thing because he took a criminal and ultimately he never committed any more crimes, but he also relegated him to a wheelchair, which seems very problematic. Ultimately, this guy, and this is the difference between criminal law and civil law. The state of New York went after Bernie Goetz in criminal case. And when you think about this, the state is going after you for violating a public law, for endangering public safety. It would have been the state of New York versus Bernie Goetz. And they could have gone after him for the gun, the registration, the fact that he shot in terrible ways. They got him for the registration, and he was fined, he was imprisoned. Potentially, in some states, you could get the death penalty, but you have to have a very high standard of proof in criminal law because your life and your freedom is valued the most. They ultimately, though, he went to civil law, civil court, and the guy that he put in the wheelchair was the one that sued him. Civil is not about it's not about freedom, it's not about execution, it's about money, it's about financial restitution. You sue people that have money because then you have a chance to be able to get it. I could go on a shooting spree and you could try and sue me. I'm a public educator. Good luck. Good luck. That's kind of the bottom line. In this case, the guy in the wheelchair won. He sued for civil damages. He won. The standard of proof is lower in civil. Why? Because your money is considered less important than your freedom or your life, and maybe there's a degree of truth to this. He won, I think it was a $20 million judgment. Wow. But understand, when you win in civil court, it's based on the person's ability to pay. He's getting about $50 a paycheck. He may get money out of this. He's not going to get the $20 million, and he's not going to get it at a level that's really going to help him if he's relegated to a wheelchair, which he was. Bernie Goetz is another example in these guns. Basically, if somebody is coming at you or your family, you can shoot with a degree of impunity. If somebody is running away from you, even if they're stealing something, not if it's your child, but if it's property they're stealing, at that point, you better not shoot, because at that point, you, believe it or not, might be criminally responsible. What's the title, Adriana, of the article that you have?
Court to weigh conflicting permissions for searches. Sorry.
Court to weigh conflicting permission for searches. What are we talking about in this case?
In D.C., guy Scott Randolph.
Was it D.C. or was it Georgia?
It's Washington. It says
I
Washington.
was thinking it was Georgia, but go ahead.
I think there was a different case in Georgia about some guy and his Miranda rights.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, but this is like what happened in D.C. Pretty much a couple, Mrs. Randolph called the police that her husband was, the police got a call about domestic disturbance.
It's Georgia. It's Georgia.
But it says Washington, and then it says Maryland court down here.
That's the other case. The
Okay,
Washington,
fine.
that's
It's
where
in
the...
Georgia.
Thank you. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so yeah, so a police get a call from Mrs. Randolph that pretty much her husband, like some domestic disturbance or whatever. So they come over and the guy, like, he didn't want the officers to go in, but they went in anyways because the missus let them in.
All right, stop right there. Husband and wife are having a dispute. And when you think about this, if you're husband and wife, odds are you're both going to be on the deed of the house. The wife calls the police and is like, oh my God, I'm getting beaten. And when the police get a call about domestic violence, they get there pretty fast, especially if it's in the right neighborhood. Let's be honest about this. So they show up, and she answers the door miraculously and says, you know, I am getting beaten, but my husband actually has a lot of illegal drug paraphernalia back in the back bedroom. Why don't you come in and I will show it to you? The husband immediately comes out of the hallway and says, no, I can determine, because I own this house, who comes in and who doesn't. So basically in this case in Georgia, the wife says search the house, the husband says no. And here's the question.
Hold it up.